Hello all you freedom-loving people, and a happy Thanksgiving to you all. We have a lot to be thankful for this year. Possible peace in the Middle East and the closing of the southern border. Okay, let's get into it. Nearly a dozen of President Trump's cabinet picks were threatened with their lives on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. President Trump's spokeswoman, Karoline Leavitt, said in a statement, "These attacks range from bomb threats to swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted." Leavitt did not disclose the specific targets under threat. However, Fox News reported that CIA Secretary nominee John Ratcliffe, Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth, and UN Ambassador nominee Elise Stefanik were all targeted. The Office of Representative Elise Stefanik released a statement sharing that she and her family were targeted with a bomb threat. The statement said New York State County law enforcement and U.S. Capitol Police responded immediately with the highest level of professionalism. We are incredibly appreciative of the extraordinary dedication of law enforcement officers who keep our community safe 24/7. Former Representative Lee Zeldin, the nominee to the Environmental Protection Agency, posted on X that he also received a pipe bomb threat. It was sent in with a pro-Palestinian themed message. It's good that Zeldin and his family were not at home at the time. It's also reported that former Representative Matt Gaetz was also the subject of a pipe bomb threat. Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture nominee, also confirmed that her home and family were threatened. Leavitt said, "With President Trump as our example, dangerous acts of intimidation and violence will not deter us." President Trump spoke with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo on Wednesday. President Trump said that she has agreed to stop immigration into the United States through Mexico. He stated that this dialogue would mark a significant shift in the relationship between the two countries. He declared, "Indeed, we are closing our southern border." We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States and also U.S. consumption of these drugs. It was a very productive conversation. This comes just hours after President Sheinbaum vowed to fight back against President Trump's tariff increases on Mexico. She said that if President Trump honors his promise of tariffs, then Mexico would retaliate with their own tariffs. But the Mexican president confirmed on X that they had a great conversation. She said that the two discussed strengthening collaboration on security issues and that the conversation was excellent. President Trump said that he would be working on a large-scale ad campaign explaining the dangers of fentanyl. He said millions of lives being so needlessly destroyed. By the time the campaign is over, everyone will know how really bad the horror of this drug is. Elon Musk is now known as the genius of the right. Musk played a key role in turning the political landscape of the United States around. And now perhaps another tech mogul, Mark Zuckerberg, intends to join the force.
Stephen, real quick, Politico is reporting that Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago today meeting with President Trump. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. And Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change that we're seeing all around America, all around the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. Mark Zuckerberg, like so many business leaders, understand that President Trump is an agent of change, an agent of prosperity.
Right.
And so business leaders, CEOs everywhere, they want to be an element, a supporter, a booster of making our economy prosperous, delivering for American workers, and making sure that America is the most powerful, wealthiest, freest nation on the face of the earth.
Thanksgiving is a time for family and friends to get together. So will people talk about the just concluded election when they get together this year? A CBS poll found that Americans in general tend to avoid the topic entirely. The poll said that only about 1/3 of the public is not shy about talking about political topics. 38% of President Trump supporters and about 28% of VP Harris's supporters said that they are comfortable discussing politics. Many people choose to get together with friends who share their political views. Even so, 57% said that they avoid political topics. They also asked, what are you especially thankful for this year? 84% of survey respondents said family and friends. And about 75% said that they are grateful for their health. Politics ranked at the bottom of the list. So we'll not talk about politics anymore today. Let's talk about peace. Israel and Iranian-backed Hezbollah and Lebanon have reached an agreement. It was brokered by the United States and France to formally end a war that has lasted for more than a year. The ceasefire went into effect on Wednesday. The ceasefire agreement calls for the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon and the stationing of Lebanese troops in the area. Lebanon, for its part, will recall its previous armed presence along the southern side of the Litani River. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and national security forces will regain control of the southern part of Lebanon, while Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. In effect, the conclusion of this agreement means that the parties to the conflict have returned to the position of the UNSC Resolution 1701 that was adopted in 2006. The 2006 resolution called for Israel to withdraw from southern Lebanon and for Hezbollah to disarm and withdraw from the area also. The resolution also decided that a multinational UN peacekeeping force and Lebanese government forces would jointly control the area. After the adoption of the agreement in 2006, Israel had complied with the requirements of the resolution and fulfilled its obligation to withdraw its forces, but Hezbollah had refused to implement the resolution and did not withdraw from southern Lebanon in the past 18 years. Instead, they had gradually grown stronger. The Lebanese government forces had not been able to carry out their duties effectively, and they failed to take control of their southern territory, thus condoning Hezbollah. So for 18 years, southern Lebanon has been a base for Hezbollah's rocket fire into Israel. The presence of United Nations peacekeeping forces, which had intended to monitor and maintain peace, had essentially served as a shield for Hezbollah. Despite the fact that Hezbollah's top leadership was eliminated at the end of September, Israel believes that it is only a matter of time before Hezbollah resurfaces in southern Lebanon if it's not eliminated from its route. Accordingly, Israel resolved to launch a ground operation on October 1st with the goal of eradicating the remnants of Hezbollah's armed forces. At that time, the government of Israel made it clear that there was no conflict between Israel and the Lebanese people, and that Israel had no intention of occupying Lebanese territory for any length of time. When President Biden and French President Macron called for a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanese Hezbollah on September 25th during the 79th UN General Assembly, then desperate Hezbollah leader Nasrallah had privately agreed to a ceasefire. Perhaps he hadn't thoroughly made up his mind and the news was just delayed. Then, on September 30th, Nasrallah was killed by Israel. Following the launch of the Israeli military operation on the ground, named Qassem, Hezbollah's number 2, who had been out of touch for days, suddenly appeared on October 8th, and he called for a ceasefire on behalf of Hezbollah. This was the first time that the organization had publicly supported a ceasefire without attaching any conditions. Previously, Hezbollah had always tied a ceasefire in Lebanon to a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. This time, however, Qassem did not make the Gaza ceasefire a condition of the ceasefire in Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israel had agreed to the ceasefire because Hezbollah was not what it used to be and that Israel had set back Israel decades. Netanyahu said all Hezbollah leaders were killed, and we also destroyed most of their missiles and artillery, killed thousands of terrorists, and destroyed the underground terrorist infrastructure along the border. a ceasefire in Lebanon will free Israel to focus on the threat from Iran as well as upgrade and rearm its military. Seeing how Israel and Iran are at loggerheads today, it may be hard to imagine that they had a very friendly relationship a few decades ago. Initially, the UN established the United Nations Special Committee on Palestine in order to deal with the Palestinian issue. The committee was composed of 11 countries, and Iran was one of them. Although Iran at the time was opposed to the Palestinian-Israeli partition formula, it was also willing to recognize Israel's right to exist. It was just that the Iranian government at the time believed that instead of dividing into two states, it would be better to establish a federal state in which Jews and Arabs would live together in this newly created federal state. After Israel's establishment, Iran recognized Israel in 1950. This was less than 2 years after the establishment of Israel. The first Muslim country to recognize Israel was Turkey, and Iran was the second Muslim country. At the time, the Shah of Iran, Pahlavi, attached great importance to friendly relations to Israel. Israel is surrounded by Arab countries, so it saw Iran as a natural ally at the time. The 4 Middle East wars that Israel fought after the founding of this state were all fought against Arab countries, but there was no Iranian involvement in any of those wars. On the contrary, Iran actively supplied Israel with oil. When the Arab oil embargo was lifted, Iran shipped its own oil from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea through oil pipelines in Israel and then to European countries. In this way, it bypassed the Suez Canal. The two countries had also formed an oil pipeline company in which each country had a 50% stake, and the pipeline was named after the two Israeli port cities at either end of the pipeline. And there was even trade of military equipment between the two countries. There used to be an oil for weapons program between Israel and Iran, where Iran gave Israel oil and Israel gave Iran weapons. In April of 1977, the two countries signed an agreement to begin a joint weapons research program called Project Flower. But today, this is unimaginable. On July 18, 1977, the Iranian Deputy Minister of War made a secret visit to Israel to meet with the Israeli foreign and defense ministers. During the meeting, Iran mentioned the urgent need for a missiles program. As a result, Israel helped Iran develop and build both long-range and submarine-launched versions of the Gabriel anti-ship missile. In 1978, Iran sent $280 million worth of oil to Israel as a down payment. The manufacturing and assembly centers for the missiles were located in Iran, and Israel sent engineers and technicians to Iran. Yaakov Shapiro was the Israeli Defense Ministry official who was responsible at the time for coordinating cooperation between the two militaries. He later said, in Iran, they were treated like kings. He said, "We did business with them on an alarming scale. Without the relationship with Iran, we would not have had the money to develop weapons. Today, those weapons defend Israel on the front lines of defense." But the friendly relations between the two countries came to an abrupt end when the Islamic Revolution under Khomeini broke out. The Khomeini regime did not recognize Israel or its right to exist. Overnight, the two countries went from friendly relations to enemies. Today's Iranian government has made opposition to Israel one of its greatest political correctnesses, and it is now a source of legitimacy for the subsequent Khamenei regime. Perhaps in the near future, we will also see a return to friendship between these two countries. After all, neither country's people are enemies of the other. In 2013, an Israeli who had lived in Iran directed a documentary entitled Before the Revolution. The term revolution refers to the Islamic Revolution in Iran between 1978 and 1979. The documentary focuses on Israeli life in Iran. It is the untold story of the Israeli paradise in Iran. Those interviewed in the documentary spoke of the friendly relations between Israel and Iran at the time. One said that the chief of general staff of the Iranian army gave him a gold watch at the age of 8. And another person said that this time in Iran was the happiest time of his life. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you. But please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that some of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. And again, have a happy Thanksgiving, all you freedom-loving people.